Hello everyone, today we are breaking down Season 1, Episode 1, The Heirs to the Dragon of House of the Dragon. Remember to like the video, helps out the channel a lot, and subscribe, and yada yada yada. Let's get to it. The first thing we see is the Great Council of 101 AC. Thousands of lords came from all over to vote on who would succeed Jaehaerys Targaryen. Jaehaerys had reigned over Westeros for almost 60 years at this point, but his heirs both had died tragically, and all that was left were grandchildren. Rhaenys Targaryen's father was Aemon, the older brother of Viserys' father, Baelon. So Rhaenys would have a better claim than Viserys, but the lords passed over her because she was a woman. Viserys was chosen to be the heir to Jaehaerys. Now in the books, Rhaenys' son Laenor was the other real contender, but he was only 7. We hear Rhaenyra Targaryen giving this voiceover. She is the babe in Aemma Arryn's belly during this time. Aemma is Viserys' wife. Also, if you couldn't figure it out, she is a Targaryen on her mother's side. Rhaenyra says that Jaehaerys called this Great Council to prevent a war in a fight over succession. But Jaehaerys knew the truth, that the only thing that could tear down the House of the Dragon was itself, basically stating that no other house could defeat the Targaryens. We now do a time jump 9 years into Viserys' reign, so around 113-114 AC. We see Rhaenyra Targaryen, Viserys' daughter, flying over King's Landing on her dragon Syrax. She lands at the Dragon Pit, which we see here. The Dragon Pit is where they house their dragons when they are at King's Landing. We did see this in Game of Thrones as well, but it was completely destroyed at that point. We see some of the dragon handlers here. They are speaking High Valyrian, giving commands to Syrax. We see a member of the Kingsguard waiting for Rhaenyra. This is Sir Harold Westerling. He is quite relieved to see Rhaenyra is back in one piece. He japes that his head would be on a spike if she got hurt. This is probably true. The Kingsguard makes an oath to protect the king and the royal family. There are 7 members of the Kingsguard. They serve for life. They also cannot own land or have children. We then see Alicent Hightower is waiting for Rhaenyra in a carriage as well. She is the daughter of the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower. She mentions how quickly Syrax is growing, saying she'll be as big as Craxes soon. Craxes is the dragon ridden by Daemon Targaryen, Rhaenyra's uncle. Rhaenyra says Syrax will be able to saddle too soon, but Alicent doesn't seem to want to ride the dragon. As you can see, the two are quite close friends. The carriage makes its way back to the Red Keep, which is where the royal family lives and other High Lords stay. Rhaenyra meets her mother, Aemma Arryn, and she is very pregnant. She has a host of midwives in her room taking care of her. Rhaenyra starts asking her questions about how she is doing, saying all these attendants are for the baby, but no one's attending to you. Aemma then tells Rhaenyra that this is how they serve the realm, that our childbed is our battlefield. So she is saying that their worth to the realm is that they can produce royal offspring, and that will be Rhaenyra's future. Rhaenyra seems a bit sad about this and says she would rather serve as a knight and ride into battle, which wouldn't be new for a Targaryen. Aegon's sister wives helped him conquer the 7 kingdoms after all. We now find ourselves in a small council meeting. Viserys is at the head of the table. His small council consists of Otto Hightower as Hand of the King, Lionel Strong as Master of Laws, Mellos as the Grand Maester, Lyman Beesbury as the Master of Coin, Ryman Redwine is the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and Lord Corlys Velaryon as the Master of Ships. Corlys is married to Rhaenys Targaryen, Viserys' cousin. Corlys brings up a matter to the council, saying that the free cities of Myr, Lys, and Tyrosh have created an alliance, calling themselves the Triarchy. They are currently going through the Stepstones, clearing the pirates out of them. The Stepstones are islands between Essos and Dorne. According to legend, that used to be a land bridge, but was later destroyed by the Children of the Forest. The leader of the Triarchy is Craghas Dreher, who they call the Crab Feeder due to his inventive ways of punishing his enemies. Though Corlys doesn't have a problem with that, the problem is that if the Triarchy gets control of the Stepstones, the shipping lanes will fall and start to hurt the ports of Westeros in trade. Corlys is a big trader. House Velaryon is the richest house in the 7 kingdoms, not the Lannisters at this time. And a big part of that is because of importing and exporting goods. So he doesn't want his money being messed with. The council brushes this off, not thinking it's a big deal since pirates are being dealt with. Rhaenyra comes in. She is the cupbearer for the small council, which allows her to learn and see what it takes to rule. We then learn that there's going to be a great tourney held in King's Landing for the king's new heir, even though he doesn't know if it's going to be a boy or not. But the king insists that it is a boy. We see Rhaenyra's face when he says this. She looks a bit sad, like she isn't worth as much to her father because she is a girl. Harold Westerling escorts Rhaenyra to the throne room, where we see Daemon Targaryen, also known as the Rogue Prince, for the first time. Harold is disgusted at seeing him on the throne. Rhaenyra tells him it's fine and walks towards him. The two start speaking High Valyrian to one another. High Valyrian is the tongue that was spoken in Valyria, which is where the Targaryens originated from. Rhaenyra asks why he has come back to court. Daemon says it was because he heard Viserys was hosting a tourney in his honor. Since Viserys doesn't have a male heir yet, his younger brother Daemon would inherit the throne. We now find ourselves in the Godswood. Alicent and Rhaenyra are studying. They are talking about Princess Nymeria, who led the Rhoynar across the sea to Dorne on 10,000 ships. This is actually a prequel being worked on HBO right now. Rhaenyra is giving a smart aleck answer, and Alicent can tell something is bothering her. She knows that it is about the new baby on the way, and if it's a son, Rhaenyra might feel overshadowed by him. Rhaenyra tries playing this off by giving more smart aleck answers. In the next scene, we see King Viserys being looked over by Mellos. He has a scab on his back. He says it is from sitting on the Iron Throne that he cut himself. This could be the case because the Iron Throne has been known to cut people. But Mellos and the other maester don't think that's what it is. They sent word to the Citadel to see if anything else like this has come up. The Citadel is where maesters are trained. Otto tells Mellos that the Legion needs to be kept quiet. In the next scene, Viserys sees his wife. She is in a bathtub saying this is the only place she can find comfort these days with the baby on its way. Viserys tells her how he is certain that the baby is a boy, how he had a dream about it. Now, dreams for a Targaryen are a big thing. They left Valyria because Daenys had a dream of Valyria being destroyed. Daenerys had dreams about putting the dragon eggs in Drogon's funeral pyre. In some cases, these dreams speak the truth. In the next scene, we see Daemon with the City Watch. He gives a roaring speech. They seemed very devoted to him, like they are his own personal army rather than serving in the name of the king. They start going through the streets of King's Landing, rounding up all the criminals and dealing justice. So if someone is caught stealing, they lose a hand. If they sexually assaulted someone, they are castrated. If they are a murderer, they get killed. We also see Daemon using his Valyrian steel sword, Dark Sister, here. Dark Sister is one of the famed Valyrian steel blades of House Targaryen. In the next scene, we see the small council discussing this. Daemon is also there to explain his actions. Otto is not happy about this, feeling that Daemon took things too far, that the City Watch is an extension of the king, that his behavior looks very bad for Viserys. Daemon says that the Watch was enforcing the laws like they are supposed to do. Otto wants it done more by the books, people thrown into cells and trialed. Where Daemon made it a public scene so people know the punishments for the crime to deter them. In a way, both are right, but neither will compromise since the two hate each other. Otto brings up how Daemon hasn't seen his wife for quite some time, simply to try and get Daemon out of King's Landing since she lives in the Vale. Daemon has no interest in his wife and no plans to go to the Vale, stating Otto can have her since his wife died. Otto is not too happy at this jape. Viserys had to calm him down. Viserys tells Daemon that it's good that the Watch is enforcing the laws, but no more public displays or he will have to answer for it. Daemon has a smirk on his face and agrees. Daemon knows he can get away with this stuff and he loves that Otto basically has to sit there and take it. We now find ourselves with Daemon at a brothel. He is having relations with Mysaria, who is his current lover. We can also see the other whores watching the two. He's not able to finish the deed though. Mysaria believes that the thing that is troubling Daemon is that he will be replaced as the heir soon when Aemma gives birth, and his place in court will be much different. We now find ourselves at the tourney for the king's heir. Viserys is giving the opening speech and lets the crowd know that Aemma is in labor as he speaks. The tourney begins. In the first joust, we see Sir Criston Cole win the first tilt. Before the next tilt, Borman Baratheon asks Rhaenys Targaryen, the queen who never was, for her favor. This is Rhaenys' cousin, so he's making a jape at her. After Rhaenys was passed over at the Great Council, she earned this nickname, a burning reminder of that day. The crowd laughs, Rhaenys plays it off and wishes him good fortune. Bormund is up against Sir Criston, and Criston wins again, knocking Bormund off his horse. Rhaenys finds him sprawling on the ground, a bit amusing. Sir Criston caught the eye of Rhaenyra. She asks Harold about him. We find out that Sir Criston is not from a great house, and his father was a steward for Lord Dondarrion. Sir Criston does not have all the advantages of a knight from a great house. He had to learn a lot of the stuff on his own. He didn't have a master of arms to teach him. Next list is Daemon Targaryen, who gets to choose his opponent. He chooses Gwaine Hightower, Otto's oldest son, obviously just to antagonize Otto. Alicent is quite worried about her brother biting her nails. She knows jousts are dangerous, especially against Daemon Targaryen. Rhaenyra enjoys watching her uncle a little too much, but you know, that's how Targaryens be. Daemon cheats and trips Gwaine's horse, sending him face first. He lives but is badly injured. Daemon then asks for Lady Alicent's favor, which she gives to him, which makes Otto even angrier. Earlier in the episode, Alicent mentions Caraxes, Daemon's dragon. Now he asks her for her favor, and Otto can't stand the prince. Could there be something here between these two? Maybe we'll find out later in the season. Viserys is informed about Aemma, and he leaves the tourney to see her. We hear her screaming. The baby is not coming out. Mellos tells Viserys that Aemma is going to die, but the child could survive if they cut into the womb, but it will kill Aemma and it will be painful. Viserys decides to try and save the child. Viserys tells Aemma he loves her. The midwives hold her down and they start the procedure. Aemma starts screaming in terror, knowing what they are going to do. Viserys tries to comfort her, but to no avail. They pull the baby out. Aemma dies from blood loss. In the next list, Sir Criston Cole faces off with Daemon Targaryen. Criston unseats Daemon off his horse, but Daemon wants to continue on foot. He asks for his sword, Dark Sister, quite the dangerous blade for a tourney. Sir Criston meets him with a Morning Star. It's an even fight. Daemon is able to knock Criston to the ground. He then stares at the crowd, loving the admiration he is getting from them. Criston hits him in the back, making Daemon yield. He offers him a hand up, but Daemon refuses it. Alicent and Rhaenyra walk to the edge of the balcony. Criston takes off his helmet. He is quite handsome. He asks for Rhaenyra's favor. She gives a coy smile and gives it to him. This and the C-section were going back and forth between each other. Earlier in the episode, Aemma said childbirth was a woman's battlefield. And then we saw the tourney, which is a play battle in a way, so they are playing off one another. The baby was a boy, and Viserys named him Balon after his father. While Mellos was holding the baby, you could tell he knew something was wrong. In the next scene, we are at Aemma and Balon's funeral pyres. Rhaenyra asks Daemon if he thinks Viserys finally found happiness for a few hours when Balon was alive, since he was a boy. Daemon tells her that Viserys needs her. She mentions again that she will never be a son. So in a way, she feels bad about letting her father down. Syrax, Rhaenyra's dragon, lights the pyre. We now find ourselves at another small council meeting. Otto wants to bring up the succession plan, which probably is a bit too early to bring it up since his wife and son literally just died a little bit ago. Lord Corlys and Lionel point out that Viserys has an heir, Daemon. Mellos also doesn't like the idea of Daemon being the heir to the throne, saying it will destabilize the realm. It would make sense that Mellos and Otto are allies. Mellos is a Grand Maester. Maesters are trained at the Citadel, which is in Old Town, which happens to be the seat of House Hightower. Otto basically wants Daemon out as the heir. He thinks he could be the next Maegor the Cruel. Daemon is listening to all this behind a false wall. Funny enough, this was designed by Maegor. Otto suggests Rhaenyra be named heir. Viserys says he will not choose between his brother and daughter. Corlys seems to have a solution. His wife Rhaenys be named heir, and she has a son as well. Lionel scoffs at this, knowing what Corlys is doing. They all start arguing, and Viserys blows up, saying he will not listen to this, as they all try and scheme to get someone as the heir, and leaves. We now find ourselves with Otto. He tells Melos to send a raven to Old Town. Maybe about what we just saw. He meets with his daughter Alicent. He tells her to go comfort Viserys alone. Then he tells her to wear one of her mother's dresses, which happens to be a bit more revealing. It shows a bit more shoulder. So it seems Otto has a plan which involves his daughter and the king. I don't want to say seduce, but yeah, it seems like that. Alicent meets Viserys as he looks over his Valyria city sculpture. Viserys seems a bit confused about what she's doing here. She sits down and talks to him about her experience losing her mother and tells Viserys that she is sorry for his loss. We return to Daemon. He is at a whorehouse with his fellow Goldcloaks. Mysaria is there as well. She smiles and says that he is now the sole heir once again. Then Daemon makes a speech to the men and women there. We find ourselves at another small council meeting where Otto seemed to have people watching Daemon at the brothel. He tells Viserys that Daemon seemed to be celebrating and called Balon, Viserys' son, the heir for a day. Viserys summoned Daemon to the throne room surrounded by his Kingsguard. Viserys is on the Iron Throne holding Blackfyre, the other famed Valyrian steel sword of House Targaryen. Viserys asks for the truth. Daemon admits to it. Viserys is furious. Daemon is also mad that Viserys keeps trying to push him away, that he should be his hand instead of Otto, who is using him. Daemon says that he would protect Viserys from himself, that the council prey off Viserys because they know he is weak. This cuts deep. Viserys decides to name a new heir and is going to send Daemon back to the Vale to see his wife. Daemon seems to be hurt by this news. We now find ourselves with Viserys in front of the skull of Balerion the Black Dread, the dragon rode by Aegon the Conqueror. Rhaenyra meets him there. Viserys asks Rhaenyra what she sees when she looks at the dragons. She says that without our dragons, we would be like everyone else. Nothing special. He then lets her know that she will be his heir. He apologizes to her if he made her feel that she wasn't good enough. He says he knows she could be a great ruling queen. We then see all the High Lords of Westeros pledging fealty to Viserys and then his named heir, Rhaenyra, from Baratheon to Stark. Viserys also tells Rhaenyra that the reason Aegon the Conqueror decided to conquer Westeros was that he had a dream and foresaw the end of men, a terrible winter gusting out of the north. He tells her that when this great winter comes, all of Westeros must stand against it. If the world of men is to survive, a Targaryen must be seated on the Iron Throne. He called this dream a song of ice and fire. He then says that this secret has been passed from king to heir since Aegon's time. This is a great way to tie it into Game of Thrones. I know some people may not like this, but to be honest, I do. And as I said before, Targaryens believe in dreams. He clutches the Catspaw dagger while saying this, which is what killed the Night King in Game of Thrones. We then see Daemon Targaryen leaving King's Landing. He is with his dragon Caraxes. Mysaria comes to meet him, and then the two ride off on Caraxes, so he may not be going to the Vale after all. So what do you think of episode 1 of House of the Dragon? Leave it down in the comments below, and if you want more House of the Dragon content, please subscribe and like the video. Also check out the Twitter, link in the description below, and as always, have an awesome day.